8 minutes. Let's give another 8 minutes for other persons to join us. Okay, before that, let me just keep on, being your official DJ. You go to Russian, go right I must want to get on my niggas about it. If they want to bounce back, then you can't get on. I just go to like the Iran. I can't get that policy. I go. I must want to get on my niggas about it. If they want to bounce back, then you can't get on. I just go to like the Iran. Squatted. I didn't feel like the Iran. Like the Iran. Like the Iran. Anytime I talk, I can put them to the goal, bro. Smack them, push them to the goal. This corner. Now you need a man. You need a mistake and then you need to matter. I need a much come at time. I'm about to like this about and then we will next to black out. Master. Now I'm going to do it. I can't put without that policy. I must call it before my niggas have up. If they want to especially they cannot be back. I just buckle. If I can get out, I can't do without that policy. I must call it before my niggas have up. If they want to especially they cannot be back. I just buckle. If I can get out, so I feel like they cannot. Like they cannot. Like the Clara, if you want to go back, like the Clara, anytime I talk, I could put them to the goal. Mark them to the goal. She give me a I am Hi everyone. Good morning. Okay. This is 11:10, so let's get things started. Again, I'm Timothy, your host and DJ. So I'm multitasking for you all. Like I said, today we'll be having a conversation around the hackathon experience, but focus on an engineering perspective, where we have two emerging speakers who will be sharing from their whatever experience, participating in hackathon, building MVPs and stuff like that, and also answer any question you might have regarding what you are building for your solution, right, for the hackathon. So just want to confirm if my two amazing speakers are here. Hi, Israel, can you hear me?
Hi, Timothy. I can hear you. How you doing? Hi, everyone.
Awesome, awesome. Ashkod, hi, yeah. Ashkod, can you hear me? Are you on the call? Give me a minute. Okay, since it's not on the call, so I think we'll just start off with easier first of all. So yeah, I usually love using this word, right? That I'm always in the presence of greatness, because the numbers of people that I usually host on these office hours are people with bundle of experience in building products, right? From engineering to design to products, right? Like later on today, we'll be hosting a session, a product focus session. So you definitely understand when I use the word I'm a parent of greatness. So let me like a brief introduction of Israel. Again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? Well, yeah, he's a self-taught front-end engineer. So basically building for front-end part of the web, and also a interface designer. But when you hear the word interface designer, all you would think is Figma, Adobe SD, the whole thing when it comes to crafting design. But again, it's coming from style sheet, CSS, crazy parts. So basically, he specializes in, using core front-end technologies in building scalable applications and seamless user experience. So trust me, this coming, you'll be sharing insights from, building products, basically from, front-end perspective, and also seamless user experience, because when you're building products, the first thing you want to notice, make sure that your users have seamless experience when using that product. So, Israel, so do are going to do this, right? I have like a couple of questions, right?
Yeah.
To ask you, which have, this is my own question. Then the folks participating in hackathons have their own question. I have a series of questions to ask you, but I'll go off with mine first. I think since Ashko is not here, I'll just pretty share from my perspective first of all. So yeah, I think the first one on the top of my list right now, right, you just understand your first hackathon experience. If you're participated in hackathon before, how was the hackathon? What like some of the challenges you face while participating in hackathon, and basically how you able to overcome them? Because we have first time hackers participating in the hackathon, which this might be their first hackathon. So hearing from someone who has participated in several hackathon and understanding their first experience, challenges they passed through, and how they were able to overcome it would be great for them.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so when it comes to my experience, my personal experience with hackathons, um, I've participated in a few, not I will not say a lot, but I've participated in a few, and I think most of them were in my uni days, anyways. So I think one of the primary things that helped was the people I was involved in the hackathon with, basically my team. So they were the people I participated in the hackathon. We were people that we were building things together normally. So there was the sync we the hackathons was not exactly was because of the sync and sorry my internet. Yeah, so because of the sync, the connection, and the fact that we've built some stuff together before, so it made getting through those hackathons, it made it easy. And uh, let me see. So I think one of the ones I can remember, one of the ones I can remember, hackathons in unit days were kind of a bit different. One in that it was physical. So at least most of them were physical. So we had to be in a physical space together and just grind through, work on products, yeah. So I think the primary thing basically is having the right team, having the right people to work with. I think that was the primary thing that really helped me, and also knowing what to do, knowing the right tools to use, and so one thing on the front end side of things, one thing I would suggest is keeping it simple. So when it comes to delivering in hackathons, especially on the front end side. Keeping it simple is a key thing. Uh, it's when you it is not that point that you should start trying to maybe design or come up with something really complex and stuff. The I think one of the point of participating in an hackathon is coming up with an MVP, so which is the minimum viable product. So just streamline what you're working on as much as possible, and yeah, and make sure you use tools that you're already familiar with. So hackathons is not the time to start testing or flexing with new tools, new frameworks and stuff like that. Use things you're familiar with. What that will help with is it will help with speed. So you'll be able to deliver what you need to deliver in time. And yeah, so I think having the right team, keeping it simple, and yeah, I think those are like the two primary things I would say really helped in my with my own hackathon experience, basically.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I think that like answered a couple of questions. I will a couple of follow-up questions. Again, I will still ask them again, right? Because they're already on my list. So participating hackathon is time limited, right? Usually I have hackathons like a 3 days hackathon, 2 days hackathon,
Yeah.
1 day, they're like time limited, right? So
Yeah.
from your perspective, what are best practices to effectively manage time when it comes to building MVPs for an hackathon?
Okay. So when you have time constraints on projects, like I said, the first thing is to keep it simple. So the point of hackathons, like I mentioned earlier, is to come up with an MVP. So again, it is not at that point that you start trying to flex with new tools, trying to learn new stuff. Just work with what you already have in your arsenal. So if as a front end engineer now, if what you are used to using is say just HTML, CSS, and vanilla JavaScript, just stick with that as opposed to starting to pick up a new library or framework. You might think, okay, picking up a new framework or something is going to help you achieve it better. But again, the primary thing when it comes to hackathons is especially time constrained ones, is speed and the speed of delivery. So, and the best way to do that is to just stick with what you know. So if you are used to using React, I don't think that's the best time to go pick up something like Next or stuff like that. So basically, stick with what you are used to, and keeping it simple, design wise. You should not start at that point. You should not start working on something extremely complicated. Just make sure what you want to deliver gets the job done. It's an MVP. So it's not something you need to overthink or over design or over engineer. Just keep it simple, stick with what you know. And yeah.
Okay, perfect. Right. So I think Ashkod is on the call. So I feel like I jumped to him. Um Again, when talking around time constraint, talking about you being able to build in a short period of time, what are various tools you will recommend or just to collaborate during hackathon? Because again, when on like this hackathon, for example, is a virtual one for the first build stage. So what are various recommended tools and technology you think teams could use in collaborating an hackathon? So maybe should they go set up like a Slack channel? Should they go set up like a Discord server? Should they stick with something simple like WhatsApp? Or what are just tools and various you can recommend when collaborating for an hackathon?
So is that for me?
Yeah, for you. Yeah, I'll come to ask you that for you.
Okay. Yeah. So, like I said earlier, keeping it in the spirit of keeping it simple, I would not recommend in Discord for one. I would not recommend going to that length. Discord, Slack. I think just a simple for communication, just simple, especially because it's virtual. A simple WhatsApp group should suffice, where you just have the participants drop messages and stuff like that. So, and yeah, and since it's virtual, I mean, managing the communication is actually very essential because you don't know what the next person is working on. You don't know what they're up to. You don't know what stage they're at and stuff like that. So, communicating very frequently is important for that. And setting up something simple like just a WhatsApp group should be fine and suffice for that purpose. That's what I would recommend.
Awesome. So yeah, so like before I move further into this conversation we are currently having, like I usually use, I'm in presence of greatness. Another someone of the part of the joiners. Our second speaker for today, Oluwaleke, but mostly called Ashcode. That's why I mentioned Ashcode, not his name. He's the CTO of Insomnia Lab and also GoWag, I think so. He has worked with amazing companies from the likes of Binance, the Bundle, to Yellow Card. He's like from over 8 years of experience being a software engineer. So this is coming from every insight is coming from a close to a decade of experience in building amazing products for global companies. So hi Ashcode, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Timothy. Good morning.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. Sorry for joining late. I just woke up because it's like 6 a.m. for me right now.
Wow. No worries. So right, I've been asking a couple of questions to Wizard for I think for like 10 to 15 minutes now. So I have like a couple of ones for you. I usually want to do it, ask a question and direct some to Israel and direct some to you. Well, I've like asked a couple of to Israel already. So let me just, I think I'm waiting with like three questions on a row. So just bear with me.
No worries.
Okay. So I think the first one I have for you, right, is basically around your first hackathon experience, right? What are some of the challenges you face in your first hackathon experience, and how were you able to like overcome them? Just like walking us through your journey of like your first hackathon experience.
Yep. Thank you for the introduction, Timothy. It's good to be here. And first of all, how's everyone doing though? How's the hackathon been so far for everyone? I hope everyone is collabing well and thinking about things well. Yeah, my first hackathon experience, I think, was when I was in university. My first hackathon experience, actually, that was like my first year of university. I was in 100 level. I studied in OAU. I studied computer science with mathematics. So the first one was not actually like a product hackathon. But I'll speak to two of them. I'll speak to the first hackathon and then also the product hackathon. The first hackathon I did was IEEE stream. It's like a problem solving algorithm, data structures and algorithm hackathon. And it was very interesting. I was in part one, so I just started learning how to code at that point. I'd been coding before, but that was like my first like serious time of like coding. And I remember like one thing I would say that was very, very like pivotal at that point was like I was able to meet people that were like way ahead of me in the tech world, I would say. So most of the guys I met at the hackathon were in like part 3 or their third year or their final year, their fifth year. And I was able to like collaborate with them and think about solutions to those questions. So I'll say like one thing I really like got from that first hackathon was just that, like working with people that are way ahead of you, because it sets you up for success, right? If I was just trying to solve those questions by myself, I'd probably not solve any one of them. But I was able to solve like at least like two of them. Well, I think it was like 24 questions. They give you one question every hour for that IEEE stream. It was very interesting. So that was my first hackathon. It was for 24 hours actually, so we didn't sleep for 24 hours basically. Yeah, we didn't sleep for 24 hours. We just awake, grinding, and I think there's a lot of coffee. There was a lot of coffee involved that day. But it was a very good experience for me because I got to meet people that were like way ahead of me. And I actually solved like a question. I was the only one that solved that question in the whole of OAU. It was a very interesting like chemistry, molecular, whatever mathematical question, but it was very interesting. Then going to the product hackathon, I would say, I think if my memory serves me right, one of the first hackathons that I attended for when it comes to like building a product was organized by VGG, and that's Venture Gardens Group. And that hackathon was also very pivotal for me because a lot of people that I know right now, like a lot of my friends, right, I met them there. And that was my second year of university as well. I think it was a 24-hour hackathon as well, actually. I think it was 24 hours or 48 hours. I think it was 48 hours. And we had to come up with a solution that just used like interesting tech. And this was back in like, yeah, a lot of years back, maybe like 7 years back now. So, and back then I worked with like a team of three people. So I was me and a couple of guys as well. I was at that point I was a back end and Android developer, and then I worked with a friend that was also like a front end and back end, a full stack developer, and the third person was a designer, right? So I think earlier, like 2 days ago, we're talking about how like, your team needs to be like, have different people that have different skill sets, right? So that was one thing that I learned from there as well. Is like you can't do everything by yourself, right? You can't really do everything by yourself. Yeah, so I work with James and I work with Ife, and we built like a solution. Solution was interesting. I had the idea, right? I had the idea and I was able to execute with the team, right? So the idea was biometric payments, actually. Believe it or not, like it was like but this was back in 2017, 2018, right? And there was nothing like, everybody was just paying with card or something like that back then. I don't think, yeah, and pay with transfer and things like that. But I was like, what if like you wanted to pay for something at any POS or anything like that, and you didn't have to hold your card with you, right? You just need to use your fingerprint to pay. I know it exists right now. It's like Apple Pay and Google Pay and whatnot, but it was a very interesting idea back then. And I built it on top of the blockchain as well back then too. So yeah, we won. We actually won the hackathon. Actually, it was yeah. We built it out. We executed it. It was very good. I presented it as well. It was awesome. It was a very good learning experience because what happened. One of the most important thing about the hackathon, right, was that's where I formed like a clique I have till today. And this was like since 2017, 2018. Is we kind of knew ourselves. We're like 10 of us or 11 of us. We knew ourselves, but we like there was some intersections with some of us that we were friends and some were not friends and whatnot. But what we did for that hackathon, we formed teams of like 4 teams actually, 4 teams of like 3 people. So we called ourselves active devs. Um, so active like Akin and TIVE, active devs. And what we did was, so the guys I formed my team with, some other guys also formed their own team as well. So what we had actually ended up doing was, I think from first to fifth, I think we were like first, second, and fourth, or first, second, and third, or something like that. was very interesting. So from there, like we also were like, oh well, we work well together. We started like a clique, and we have been helping each other grow and improve since then. Yeah, that was like the first hackathon experience or the
Awesome.
experiences.
That was really hard. Writing code and building for like 24 to 48 hours straight. That's crazy. That just directly like bring me to the next couple of questions I have, right? So again, hackathons are stressful. Hackathons are time constrained. Hackathons are, you have to do something in a short period of time. How do you manage stress and how do you stay focused, right? While building for that long period of time?
For sure, for sure. I would say, yeah, hackathons are very stressful, right? Because you have there's a time limit, right? And you have to get things right. You have to set up your project. Yeah, at the end of the day, you have to make sure it works. But one thing I always tell people, even like my engineers that I work with in my companies, is you can put in long hours to build something, right? But if at the end of the day, it doesn't work when a user wants to use it, it's like you wasted your time. Like if you work straight for 72 hours and then you give it to the user or the client or anybody, like, or you want to present it at the end of the hackathon, and then you just open and then something goes wrong. It's like you wasted your time. So I would say you should put some focus on actually making sure things work, right? Don't focus on I'm going to spend 48 hours or 2 hours. Don't focus on like, oh yeah, the I'm spending this crazy amount of time building this thing. No, you should focus on trying to get what you are building to work, right? And I think for me, like when I do that, right, I just keep going. Like I just keep going. Like it's like a motivation because you are trying to say, okay, I want this thing to work. So your goal is not I want to work for 48 hours straight, right? Your goal is I want to make sure this thing works and I want to win, right? Because I feel like as human beings, there's an innate urge for us to win, right? So so there's that. So I'll say your motivation should be making the product work. Now, how do you like then manage stress, right? I would say you shouldn't one you should eat, right? You should eat and you should eat and also like time management as well. I would say like for hackathons, I would say you should get a bit of like sleep. If it's like for 3 hours or 4 hours, it's very important, right? Like even just in real life, even like working for long stretches of hours, right? Because yeah, we are all human beings, right? And your brain, unfortunately, is not like a computer. It's not a supercomputer. It's a supercomputer and also not a supercomputer that can work endlessly, right? So I would say like eat and also rest a bit. So if you have 48 hours, it might be good to sleep for like 5 hours out of the 48 hours. And then you can rotate with your teammates, right? So you can do some work. If you're the only one, like let's say for example, you are the only backend engineer on your team, right? If you code some APIs and then the front end developer is consuming that, right? You can get some few hours of sleep in between that period, and you can also guide them. We can guide them with the integration. But yeah, I think for me, from experience, right? Like for example, I'm a workaholic. That's why I work with a company called Insomnia Labs, which is good because it just goes with my work ethic, to be honest. Because like for example, at GoWeja, we are working on something right now, and since Sunday to today, this is Saturday, I think averagely I've only slept for like 4 hours a day, 4 5 hours a day. Because just because like I know what is at stake and I know what I have to do, right? But I still get some sleep. At the end, like when it's like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., I get some sleep, right? Even like today, I just woke up like 30 minutes ago and I slept like 2 a.m., right? So that work ethic is very important.
Awesome. I think this like brings to the last question I have regarding your hand before I move to Israel. So I think it's one question but bundled in two ways, one for you and one for Israel, right? We understand that hackathon is all about building MVP, right? So again, it's not about building a full-blown project. It was about just building one particular feature, maybe a couple of features that solve the problem you're trying to solve. So from a perspective of right, as an engineering leader for the past 8 years, and also in several hackathon, what constitutes a good MVP, right, for an hackathon contest? I think that one goes to you, Ashcode. I think follow up on I have is for Israelis. Okay, since we are building an MVP for a tight schedule, for a tight deadline, how do we prioritize features that could work for that? What prioritize features for an MVP, right? So the first question for Ashcode is basically what constitutes an MVP in an hackathon contest. And the one for Israel is okay, what are features? How do you prioritize features when building an MVP for an hackathon? I think Ashcode, you go first.
Yeah, thanks, Timothy. Yeah, I think like the name suggests, like MVP. MVP is the minimum viable product, right? Again, hackathons, you don't have time, right? So once you have your idea, right, that you want to build out, right? What an MVP involves, first of all, like there are requirements for most hackathons, right? So for example, for HackOps, you have to use HackOps to manage your deployment and everything, right? So that's one first. There might also be some I think there's also like a constraint on like the industries you can bid for as well, right? So your MVP has to also like touch on that, right? You can't just go down and bid something else. So yeah, so that's that. Well, also importantly, your MVP should just capture your idea, right? Just capture your idea. Like what's your main idea? You have to be able to like show that, right? If it is for example, when I talked about like the payment solution I built back there at my first hackathon, right? What we just add there was you just could sign in, right? You sign in and then you can pay, right? You can pay for stuff. Now, how do you fund your account? It's none of my business, right? Because at that point, you are just showing that you can actually pay for something with fingerprints, right? So at that point, I don't need to work on like a Flutter integration to. I think we worked on it anyways, but you don't. Looking back now, you don't need to work on that because what you're actually trying to show, right, is just like, oh yeah, this you can use your fingerprint on your phone to pay for something, or there's a fingerprint scanner you can use to pay for something, right? And yeah, so I would say like just show like your main idea, right? You don't need to worry about like the bells and whistles around or okay, the user login experience or a referral program. Unless your idea is a referral program, you don't need to worry about like some cashback. You don't need to worry about like you don't even need to think too much about security, right? I would say like some things that you just know then that okay, I need to consider this. You can note them down in your deck, in your presentation deck, and say, okay, we worked on just executing the ideas, but these are other considerations to have as well, right? But what your MVP should actually show is like your main features, like whatever your idea is, the main features.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I think going over to Israel. So regarding your knowing the features you want to build, right? How do you prioritize which feature first, right? Okay, let's say for example, like Ashka has been saying when they're trying to build that biometric stuff, so they have to like think of how does that payment happen? Who handles that payment? What do users see and stuff like that. So from my perspective, right, I should developers, designers, and people participating in hackathon should prioritize their features and tasks while building an MVP on a tight schedule. Like again, for using the hackathon as a case study, this is like they're building end by Tuesday. So how do they like prioritize features and tasks while building?
Okay. Thanks for that question. So in my experience of working on products and having built and delivered several MVPs over the years. So I think the primary thing is to identify the core values, which was something Ashcode mentioned. So basically, you should know the goal. You should know what you're trying to achieve. You should know if it's a product hackathon, you should know what it does and have that defined. So your target should be having that core value, having that feature or whatever implemented. And you should keep your implementation within scope. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not at that point that you should start over engineering and doing unnecessary things. You should make sure you keep to scope. have a list of the features you want to implement, and even with that, you should have a, I don't want to say a scale of preference, but basically you should order them in, you should put them in an order of importance, basically. So in the case of say you're working on what product can I use as an example? Okay, yeah, like the example Ashkod mentioned, the payment stuff. So there is like you mentioned, they didn't have to worry initially about okay how they get to fund their account and stuff. The core value, what they wanted to achieve, was to make sure users are able to pay with biometrics. So yeah, you should prioritize the features, know what you want to deliver, and also make use of existing solutions as much as possible. So that speaks to the part of engineering. If there is something that is part of your core features that you need to deliver, and there are alternative, or there are some sort of implementation of it already, you should not start, because of the time constraint primarily, you should not start engineering your own solution. Just make use of already available tools. And yeah, so I think that's it. Know the core values, keep to that, don't go beyond scope, and make use of existing solutions.
Awesome. Okay, so I have one follow-up question to this particular one, right? Again, so what do you think regarding user feedback while building for building an hackathon, an MVP, right? I think the last session we had, that was was kind of like centered around why we are building, right? You should be able to understand that you're not just building for yourself, you're building for users, right? So I you think around the solution might be like, okay, this is, I think it's better for us to build this way, right? But not understanding that this is what the user wants, this is the pain point of the user. So I put on this user's feedback when building an MVP for an hackathon, or is not really that important for an hackathon, or is it important? If it's important, how do we gather those user feedback? How do we incorporate them during an hackathon? Or is it not important? We just build up as we have the idea.
I mean, sorry, is that for me?
Yeah, for you. It's follow up for you. Yeah, it's follow up for you.
Okay, so incorporating user feedback into hackathons, I think one of the things to consider when picking out a product or something to work on for an hackathon is partly partly feedback from people about the idea of the product you want to work on. So as opposed to again, because of the time constraint during the course of the hackathon, as opposed to start incorporating that, I think it is a better idea to get that done before the hackathon, get feedback on the idea and stuff like that before the implementation, basically. So yeah, user feedback is pretty important, but I think that's something that should be done ahead of time, as opposed to during the course of the hackathon itself.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I have this one for HashCode, right? So even though hackathons are short term, why building? Do you consider scalability while building the project? I think this goes to HashCode, right? Even though we understand that hackathon are short term, just for us to win a prize and maybe just build a particular solution. Why building? Do you consider scalability? Do you consider, okay, what next after the hackathon?
Hackathon you have in 2 days. That's what they are doing for 2 days. I would say don't stress yourself, because like Israel mentioned earlier, there's something called over engineering, right? And over engineering is when you carry a bazooka to a fist fight, right? Yeah, if you are trying to account for scalability in 2 days, right, you're not going to get anywhere. I don't know if you have seen that meme, that British child that was screaming because of ice cream. It's not getting nowhere. You're not going to get anywhere with trying to account for scalability. Again, like I would say, like what you should do, right? It's an MVP. It's something you're putting together, like really, really roughly. And with the guys, we get caught in that thing, and actually trying to like scale from day one, right? I would say, like, especially like if you're building a new idea, you can't really scale it. You can't make it scalable from day one. It's impossible unless you have built something like that before. Right, I can tell you from my own experience of building different kind of products. So for me, I've built products across like gaming, crypto, blockchain, sports, health, fintech, obviously. And one thing is like, for every time I start something very, very niche in those fields, I can't really scale from day one because there's a lot of like bells and whistles I don't even know about yet until we get to like maybe week 4 or week 5. And like, oh, I can actually do this, I can do that, right? Because sometimes scalability comes from like you can account for it from the beginning, but also like when you see patterns, when you start doing things for like some period of time, right? You won't find any pattern like that in 2 days or in one day. It's not possible. So I would say like just build something that works. The entire thing of hackathon is packaging. You have to package it to work. So don't worry about like yeah, it's scalable. But when you're presenting, right, again, you should highlight things you considered as well. So your deck, right, that you're presenting with should contain, or when you're even speaking to the judges, right, or when you submit, right, should contain a page that talks about like things that you know that are improvements, right? So they know that okay, yeah, this person actually is a thinker, right? You are thinking about the right thing. So you can mention scalability as one of those things. So, for example, you say, okay, now we built this idea, but we are also thinking about what would happen if 30,000 people are trying to use it at the same time, right? What would happen in that case? Or if you're trying to add more features to it, what would happen? How long would it take to deliver or go to market with a new feature based on the current implementation? So just add that to your deck. You don't need to like worry about that.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much. And again, now with this answer, I feel like threatening to ask my follow-up question. But again, I will still ask my follow-up question, right? So, okay, in regards to this, right, how do we then balance clean code and need for speed on hackathon? So while writing code, while building products, should we really bother about clean code, making sure that, okay, this code structure makes sense, or we should just, we just want to ship an MVP fast for the hackathon?
Yeah, for sure. And when it comes to clean code, again, too, you don't over-engineer it, right? I also think I think it depends, right? So if you're, for example, let's say you're a front-end developer, right, and you're the only front-end developer in your team, right? For that hackathon, you don't need to worry too much about like clean code per se. Just make it the MVP clean code, right? Don't need to worry about like making it too much of a clean code because you're the only one working on it. Now, say for example, you are like there are two of you working on something, then you can think about, oh yeah, okay, I need to account for this other person and how we can work together to make things faster, right? But I would say like what I've always done, right, and this is general, like, is have a boilerplate code, like for any project you want to work on, have a boilerplate code. Let's say your stack is Java, have a boilerplate code for Java. If your stack is Node.js, have a boilerplate for Node.js, maybe backend, Java backend as well. If your stack is, let's say, Next.js on the front end, have a boilerplate as well, right? So that there's a structure already you are familiar with. So for example, if you go to my GitHub, you find different like standards of boilerplate of tools I've worked on. But I try to do that because if I need to spin up a new project, I can easily do that ASAP. Right. So I have a boilerplate code that you already have, so that you're able to like spin up a new project instantly. But don't worry too much about. So once you have a boilerplate, most of it will contain clean code and also like some good standards already, and then you can go from there.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you very much for that word. I think I have one last one for Israel before we do like a final conversation for both of you, then answer questions from various people participating in the hackathon. So when it comes to hackathon, right, how do you tend to like, solve technical issues? That's one. But before that, what are some technical issues you have faced during hackathon, right? Or you think people will face during hackathon? Why building from an engineering perspective? And how we're able to resolve them, and how do you think we're able to resolve those common technical issues you will face while building an hackathon?
Okay. So in terms of technical issues, I think it depends. It depends on what you're working on, basically. In my personal experience, at one time I was trying to we're working on delivering a KYC system, basically. So something that performs like a liveness check. It was something we had to custom build. There are solutions already that do that, but it was something that had to be custom built, basically. And it was a mobile application, so it was something I needed to work on. So yeah, so the way I did that was it was just, I mean, during hackathons you're allowed to do researches and stuff like that. So basically, what I just did was okay. I think this still leads back to one of the things I mentioned earlier, is in that for some of the technical challenges you might face or you might be facing, there are already solutions to it, or if not exactly, there are solutions that are close to it available already. So what I did then was during the course of trying to figure out what the problem was. Sorry, during the course of trying to figure out how to solve that. So what I needed to do then was to track facial movements, the movement of some facial features like eyelids, smile, and stuff like that. So uh, during the course of that, basically, I came across a package that did something, not exactly that, but it was something I tweaked to basically fit what I wanted it to do. So I think uh, making proper research and also communication is another thing, because if you are facing a technical challenge, for instance, there might be someone else on the team that has come across something like that, that's done it before, or something close, or that you can even reason together with to get it solved. So I think proper research and communication are two things I would recommend. Those are the things that have helped me.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the last one, I think for both of you, but I think I'll start with Ashkin first of all. So I'm the best way to word this particular question, right? But let me throw it out this, but let me try to throw it out this way, right? Okay, what are key advice you would give to first-time hackers participating in an hackathon? And as you do that, as you share that, just like share final words of advice, encouragement, and other people and to other tips regarding participating in an hackathon, right? I think the same thing goes to Israel, just sharing key advice to people participating in their first hackathon, encouragement, tips, hacks. Then there was the word again, tricks regarding building an hackathon.
I'm just taking some notes down here. Yeah, so I'll say if you're your first time hacker, right? First time in a hackathon, I would say there are a lot of things to take notes, but I would say like the first thing would be like choose the right idea, right? Or like have the right idea first, right? Like that's the core of everything, right? Because that's the foundation of everything, right? If you don't have a good idea or you don't have like an idea that makes sense, right? You're just not wasting your time, right? Because I know the goal is to win. The goal is to create a product, at least even an MVP, a product that kind of like solves a problem, right? And that's one thing that got into tech was like, yeah, I could use this code to solve a real problem, right? That was like very big for me. Like when I was like in my 5 years, I was like, oh wow, I can just write this thing that can solve a problem that exists in real life. So I would say like find a problem that exists first. And I think this one's already in it already. But the second thing is like have a good team, right? You shouldn't try to do everything by yourself, right? Nobody works that way in real life. Nothing works that way in real life. The idea of somebody like a solo person doing everything, it sounds good in theory, right? It sounds good in movies and everything, right? But in real life, like have people that you work together with, even if you're the only technical person, it's really good to have someone like you can have someone that is like a more of like a seller, someone that can sell something, that can present like, and you'll be swept off your feet, right? Someone that can present, that can package things very well. Or someone that has good experience with like maybe users, understanding users or products, right? So you ask a question about like test user feedback. Maybe that person just be doing like QA for you, right? So even though you're the only technical person working on that idea, and person can also come up with features and things like that. So I'll say that's the second thing. The first one is have a good idea. Second one is pick your team wisely. The third one too is I would say is like be tenacious, right? Be tenacious is like because when you're working on something with little to no sleep for 48 hours, your brain will play tricks on you, right? You even encounter bugs, right? And boy, only the strong will survive. Right? Because the competition is battle of the fittest, right? Survival of the fittest. I would say like be tenacious. Like if you face a bug, like don't let that discourage you. If something doesn't go the way you want it to go, like still be tenacious. I also say another thing too is like don't stop there. Right? Don't stop at the hackathon, right? Don't stop there. It's a big word out there, right? Hackathon, not everybody will win, right? It's the reality, right? But there'll be a few winners, but not everyone will win, right? So even if you win or you don't win, right? Don't stop there, right? Like for example, one of the hackathons I participated in, right? That's where I actually met my two other co-founders for GoWage, actually, Michael and Ayomeko. They were a team. I was competing against them actually back then, like this was like 6, 7 years ago, right? And I was competing against them in hackathon, but after a few years, we came together to be GoWage right now, which is doing very, very fantastically well. But it doesn't stop there, right? I also mentioned like my friend group that I formed from the hackathon as well, right? So don't see this hackathon as like the end of the year, like if I don't win, and that's it, I'm not that good, or I'm not the best, right? Everybody wants to win, right? Which is good, right? But you like don't give up after like the hackathon, because even the products that might not win, right? Now your product might not win, but your product can actually become a business afterwards, right? That's that. And then one more thing I would say, and this is like even from my old like something that has always stayed with me since I was very young, was when it comes to the competition, right? I think most of everyone here, we are mostly Africans, right? Mostly Africans here. I know there was someone that joined in from Kenya the other day, right? I hope you are here as well. But yeah, one thing I would say when it comes to hackathons is although it seems like we're competing against one another, right? As Nigerians, as Africans in general, right? But I would say in the real world, when it comes to like tech or everything, or even just the real world, we're not actually our own competition, right? There's something someone told me. It's like your competition is not someone. Your competition is not someone from Nigeria. It's not someone from Kenya. It's not someone from Ghana. It's not even someone from South Africa, right? Your competition is that guy that went to Harvard, that guy that went to MIT, that girl that went to Stanford University, right? People that grew up and lived in Silicon Valley all their life, and that's what they know. That's all they know. People that grew up and that went to school in Boston, in some schools in New York, in some schools in Texas, and whatnot, right? That's your competition, right? So as much as you are competing against people like other Africans here in this hackathon, right? I would say definitely like try to work with everyone under the hackathon, right? Don't form any animosity, right? Try to meet people, even like people that you find the ideas interesting, like speak with them as well. I know it's a virtual event, they might be harder to do, but make the effort to do that and meet other people and get an idea what they're working on and form like good relationships with them, right? Because you never know like who's going to be your next co-founder, even though you're not on the same team right now. But yeah, those are the pieces of advice I'll give. And I want to appreciate like Samuel and the entire type of students for organizing this actually, because back in my day there were a lot of hackathons, but right now like companies are not really focused on hackathons, right? They just want to they just want to like do their thing and move along, right? But it's really great to have this international hackathon being organized by HackOps. So thank you so much, Samuel and the team. But yeah, that's all from my side.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That was in depth. In the favorite word of a colleague, victory belongs to the most tenacious. I just saw that in somewhere in a group that victory belongs to the most tenacious. And just like mention it again. So it reinforces that particular word. So over to you, Israel. Any final words of encouragement and also tips to share with the participant of the hackathon?
Okay, so for me, for first time hackers, I think some of it is Yeah, most of it is actually what Ashkod already mentioned. Having a proper balanced team. You don't if you want to work on a product, you don't get you get basically people with different specialties. Depending on the product as well, you should make sure your team is balanced. If it's again, depending on the product, you get, if you're a front-end person, you don't get other front-end people to work on a product that requires some back-end services and stuff like that. You get a front-end person, you get a back-end person, you basically be as diverse as the product would require, as what you're working on requires. And maintaining good relationship with your team members and people from other teams as well. So one thing that for me at this point, most of the things that I work on, I've been working on it with the same set of people, and the point of connection with us then was the fact that we had to work on a product hackathon together at that point. So, and from that point up till now, we've gone to build different amazing things and stuff like that. So basically, do not trivialize the relationships and things like that you form from this from the hackathon, either between the members of your team or members of other teams as well. And so I think for first-time hackers as well, once you pick the product idea, have core values basically. So I think so have core values. One thing that first-time hackers might be getting wrong is again, over-engineering and not sticking to what the core values of what you're working on are. So they might get lost and caught in the loop of wanting to add this, add that, and stuff like that. It's an MVP. Don't sweat it. Have core values, stick to that. Don't go beyond the scope. And I think one important thing as well when it comes to judging of the hackathon at the end of the program is have pitch practice. So have your pitch properly organized. And which I would mention something Ashkod mentioned earlier when you asked me about scalability. So during the course of the hackathon, do not worry too much about things like that. But in your pitch deck, in your pitch practice, you should include and talk about things like that so as to, like you mentioned, it's mostly about packaging. So you package it in that kind of light. Make sure you do proper pitch practice and so that when you're presenting and stuff, you know what you're saying, you go straight to the point and you just don't start messing around. So I think, like I mentioned, most importantly, have fun. So I think that will be it for me.
Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing that. I think one big thing I've learned from the whole conversation is not seeing the hackathon as a competition within yourself. Try to build relationships from the hackathon, but again, it might not really end here. I could learn from a couple of you guys that we have went from an hackathon and came out with co-finance for companies, cutting various other opportunities and stuff like that. So I think the keyword is build relationship even as you build for the hackathon. If anyone have any question, please do it, like share on the chat. I think we still have like a few minutes before the end of our office hour. So if there's any question, do it to raise your hand or just drop them in the chat. I'm gonna give you like 5 minutes for anyone to do that. Or if there is no need necessary for 5 minutes, we'll just like call it a day and allow everyone to continue to build for productivity. So while we wait to see if anyone is typing in or to see if anyone will raise their hand within the next couple of 3 minutes, let me just kind of like be on start this way. But then this is like a friendly reminder for our next officer will be happening today by 6:30. I think I please can you just share the link for that one right on the chat. So we have a next office hour today by 6:30. So what we are doing for this particular office hour is focus on the product, right? For this morning, we had amazing folks who have the of experience come share the hackathon experience and also various tips and hacks regarding building for an hackathon from an engineering perspective. So for this evening, we are looking at it from a product perspective, right? So why building, things to consider while building, the whole product life cycle and stuff like that. We're having an amazing person who will be, sharing from our experience regarding building products. Let me see. Is there anyone in chat? Oh, awesome. I think it's just the evening session. This is amazing. Seeing that hosting an office hour today and we have no question is you set a new all-time record, right? I think for yesterday we had more than 20 questions yesterday. People raising their hands, people dropping on chat. And today it seems everyone has figured things out. Everyone is focused, is now building at this point. Yeah, this look right. So I hope that again, at the evening session again, it might just flow smoothly, right? Even on Monday too again. So let's just like finally register for the evening session. I'll just share with other team members for the evening conversation. I think there is no question. Yeah, let me just use this medium to thank everyone for joining us for this amazing session. Thank you, Israel, for from a busy schedule, pulling out time to join us for this office hour. And also shout out to you, Ashcode, for we just waking up and jumping on this call. We really appreciate you spending the past an hour plus chatting with us and also dropping your experience. And to the amazing people at this hackathon, please keep on building. Try and rest, like Ashcode said. Just try and keep some hours of rest. It's not about building for long hours. It's about building something that makes sense at the end for the hackathon. Usually this word, not go cook beans. At the end of everything, I just beans time you cook for at the end of dish. That would be crazy. So yeah, see you all and thank you for joining. Bye.
Bye, everyone.